Welcome to chart element video series video number 7. In this video we will learn the importance of grid lines and data markers in a graph. I will be using a sample line chart to illustrate my point. The graph shows the number of days taken to close general ledger periods. As you can see from the graph, the number of days taken to close GL periods has been declining, which is good. However, it is difficult to say how much decline has been done from 20 to 5, or range can be smaller like 20 to 15 days. To make it easier to see the change in the number of days, we can add the vertical scale to the graph. Now we can see that the days range from 0 to 10. The data points which are close to the vertical axis are easier to identify the data values. Just like here it is 6, but as we go far on the right side of the data points, it becomes difficult to identify what value does it possess. In this case, we can use grid lines. Gridlines are straight lines that connects the axis. It should be a light in color. It should be not overemphasizing. It should be less noticeable and less distracting. Gridlines can also be tedious to use if we want to identify any data points like here. We need to do a lot of back and forth eye movement to see from here to the vertical axis what value it possesses. To avoid such effort, we can add data markers to the graph. Data markers are the value that will appear on the data points. When data markers are used, the grid lines and vertical axis becomes redundant. We can eliminate those parts. Now we have a clutter-free and clear graph available. You may be thinking that this is the view we should be using all the time. I will agree on most of the time this view is much better, but there are scenarios where having a data label onto the graph makes it cumbersome to view the graph. For example, when we have a multi-line chart, in such cases the data labels overlaps each other and it also blocks the overall trend view. So such cases we should eliminate the data labels and add back the vertical scale and the grid lines. In cases where data points are far from the horizontal axis and this horizontal values are very close to each other, we can also add the vertical grid lines. I hope now you have a better clarity over the concept of the grid lines and data marker, when to use and when to avoid them. Now I will demonstrate you how to enable or disable the same onto the Oracle Fusion environment system. So for this purpose, I will be using a line chart showing a period close in the general ledger. If you want to know how to create a line chart for period close in OTBI, I have already created a video. The link of the video is available on the I button at the top, or you can go through the YouTube video description. So initially by default it gives data markers. When you hover over to the data points, the values are available. So let's see how the data markers are set. Go to XYZ properties, titles and labels, and at the bottom you can see the data markers are been set. And by default the display option is on rollover. So when I hover my mouse over the data points, the data values will appear. So let me change it to always, and the font format, how it should look like. So initially it will be clear like this, and if I want just for to see the effect, I will change it to green. It's not recommended. It's always should be a lighter, less emphasize. Okay, let's not put a green color, it's not so professional. Let me have this gray color. So now we have the data markers are available, and if you want to eliminate this grid lines, the point is you go to the style and here specify, and I don't want major or minor, vertical or horizontal grid lines, and okay. And to avoid this vertical scale, we can go to this vertical axis labels and display option as hide, and already the titles are disabled. So a cleaner graph is available. Let's explore the example of multiple lines. So instead of having only restricted to the application general ledger, I will make it for all the applications. Now we can see here the graph, the data labels are overlapping each other, and the focused on the overall line trend is missing in some of the cases. So here, instead of having the data markers on, we should have the vertical scale and the grid lines. To enable the same, go to XYZ property. I will roll back instead of always on rollover, and enable the grid lines by specifying the horizontal and the coloring as very light. Okay, and also need the vertical scale, so axis label as default show. So the graph is cleaner now, and the focus is now on the overall trend instead of just having a single data values, and I can identify that this data points falls between 1200 to 400, this is between 1000 to 1200, and on hover the actual value is available. So I hope this information is helpful to you. Please let me know if you have any queries or concerns. If you want to connect us for any reporting requirement, please connect us at the email address in the description. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day.